Hello, good day, guys. So today we'll be discussing the BRICS currency, why South Africa's membership in BRICS has its own pros and it has its own cons. So we already know that China is competing with the USA in terms of being the world superpower. What does that mean? That simply means that we are in a phase of a conflict between autocracy and democracy, simply means socialism and capitalism, just like what happened prior to World War II. So currently countries are trying to actually partner with one another since the Russia-Ukraine war and the COVID-19. That simply means that now a powerful country will now want to partner with a resourceful country in order for it to gain leverage. South Africa and China come a long way. I mean, China has been, in the past 40 years, it was amongst the poorest countries, just like us, and then not poor, just like us, but they were also facing some economic challenges. They managed to rise to power. Today, they are amongst the richest nation in the world. So what does that mean now? The BRICS now actually stated that it will launch a digital currency that will aim to shift focus that is aiming to decentralize the dollar, meaning that to fight against the dollar and making a new world that will not be monopolized by one currency. We know that the USA has been doing some shady thing with its dollar. It's been printing more dollars to fund the COVID-19 vaccine, to fund the 2008 crisis. Almost each and every crisis that has happened because of the USA. So now countries are saying, no, we cannot actually let that happen in the 21st century. We will actually start trading in our own currencies. That's what is happening now. So the BRICS currently, the joint forces between South Africa, China, Russia, India, and Brazil. With Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE wanting to join, showed interest to join, and they will be allowed to join next year. So what does that mean? That simply means now trade will be facilitated through this new currency. That doesn't mean it's a Shoprite in BRICS currency. No, it simply means that important goods on the international scale, like your gold, your oil, your platinum, your cobalt, your silver, your iron, your copper will be traded now using the BRICS currency instead of using the dollar, because the dollar doesn't have mines. Its origin doesn't have mine. I mean, the USA doesn't produce gold itself. And also with the going flood in Russia and Ukraine, it has also posed a threat. People now are starting to take sides. Others are joining the USA into saying Ukraine must defend itself. Others are joining Russia to say no, Russia must fight for what was truly it in the first place, because before Ukraine became a country, it was once under Russia, just like South Africa, Lesotho. So what does that simply mean? It means that we are now in a new phase, a phase of digital. That doesn't mean, I don't think that we will ever physically touch the BRICS currency with our own hands, especially if you are a low income earning person. That simply means there must be an alternative. So entrepreneurship knows this. They know this already. There's always for every problem there's always a solution. So there'll always be an alternative. There's been an alternative to Bitcoin. There'll always be an alternative to BRICS. There's always going to be an alternative within the market. And now the alternative is just to adapt. We'll have to adapt to whatever that is happening, because now these politicians are actually, or the government are actually planning for us, for the future of us. They no longer have a future. I mean, they no longer have a future. It is our future that is being compromised at the end of the day. So without any further explanation, let's just dive to it. So the BRICS currency it was meant for economic gain. That doesn't mean that it is a military, like the NATO and stuff. It is actually for for economic and diplomacy discussions within these four countries. That simply means Russia, we know that Russia has weapons, China can produce things in high quantities, it's a very low cost. South Africa has the gold, and then Brazil has coffee. So now, and India has spices. That simply means now trade now between these critical elements, trade will be facilitated using that currency. So investing in that currency, selling for like $50. One BRICS currency is called to $50. That means one BRICS is called to 923 rands. The poor cannot afford that, unfortunately, and stuff. You know that we will always have poor people in our lifetimes. We can never fight that. And yeah, so with that being said, that one BRICS coin is equivalent to close to 1,000 rand. That simply means the BRICS currently will take time for it to decentralize the dollar. It is not even a competitor of a dollar. Dollar is still competing with the euro, with the British pound, with the Chinese yen, Japanese, and the other major currencies internationally. Yeah, so I am Sakile Mutingwe. I promote what I call Student Afro-Capitalist Union. What is that? A union that is a philosophy that is based within African business practice, the practice of business and Ubuntu, meaning that instead of the Western approach of capitalism, which is all about profits, we are now saying businesses should also look at the social, the environment, and find a way to share its wealth that is generated for the entire society. It is not a government mandate. The government shares its wealth via grants and stuff. Businesses can share wealth via workers share programs. It can share wealth by contributing back to the community, by actually partnering with the private and public sector to actually cater for Afro-capitalism. Afro-capitalism is a business philosophy that started in Nigeria, the biggest economy now in Africa. It started that side whereby this leader, I forgot his name, he came and said, let us use this kind of a business philosophy and establish the Nigerian privatization center, which is all about private gain in Nigeria. Private gain is not a bad thing. Never think that private gain is a bad thing. I mean, you also want to own a car, you also want to own a house. That is simply private gain. You wanting to own something that is truly yours, that is a private gain. And that's it. Yeah, so today I discussed, that is my personal opinion on the BRICS currency. As a student, that is just my personal opinion, that as much as it can change the way trading happens on the international scale, but it will not impact an individual in Zakane, in Alexander, in the township, in Khayelitsha, in Malawi. Those people, the leaders in Malawi, can benefit from it, but that doesn't mean that the whole citizens will not benefit from the BRICS currency. We must be realistic and know that it is just another diplomatic way of China showing that it has power. I mean, contractors will be given to China. Contracts in Africa are already being handed over to China via the Chinese Development Bank and the BRICS Development Bank, which I find it so weird that Africa is still handing over its resources to another country instead of it finding ways to develop it. I mean, China, and we know that almost every major project that is happening in Africa, it is all led by China. Almost every major road in Africa is managed by China. So China is benefiting indirectly from this. No country will benefit more than China and within the BRICS currency. I think we all know that. But without any further ado, let me not just talk a lot and just I love you guys, and keep on following the Student Afro-Capitalist Union, and please do follow a Student Connect. It's whereby we share what we think a student is right and what we think is wrong. Then we say, nah, this is wrong. The BRICS currency, it is good, it will benefit us, but it will not, you will not feel the physical impact of such a currency in our lifetime. Maybe 10 years from now, maybe Nakon. It is not just not guaranteed. I mean, South Africa actually denied Elon Musk's proposal of having a free internet. So now internet is still kept under the private gain. Why did it deny that? Because Elon Musk is a capitalist, according to them, but we know that the internet can actually change almost everything, especially with the introduction of artificial intelligence. We really need everyone to be connected to the internet. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. African government, I don't know how they operate, but it's just bad. And it will take time for Africa to change and see how we can leverage. I think so. It is up to us as the youth to hlanganeni and just push entrepreneurship more than politics. Entrepreneurship will get you far more than politics. Never be somebody who's politically orientated. Be business orientated. Have a business, have a plan. Thank you, and I love you.